Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley, for those of you not familiar, Steve, give us a little background on her. She's just announced she's running for president, the first person to announce they are, in effect, running for the nomination against Donald Trump.
Okay, we're going to talk about lane discipline, because when it comes to primaries in both the Democratic and Republican side, there are lanes, and you have to figure out which lanes are going to compete with one another.
Okay.
Nikki Haley has no lane. She is not going to be the nominee, despite her impressive background. I mean, she was a very effective governor of South Carolina as a Republican. She has her foreign policy chops, being the UN ambassador, having been appointed by Donald Trump. She can speak eloquently, but she has no lane in today's Republican parties. There's three lanes in today's Republican parties. One is Donald Trump. He has his own lane. The second lane is, I'll call it the Trump, not Trump. Right? These are the people who can appeal to the MAGA voters, who can talk about woke capitalism and talk about abortion and how awful it is, and talk about how awful it is that our country is being overrun by immigrants. And that lane right now, the top of that lane is Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, if he chooses to get in. And there's others who are vying for that lane, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. The third lane is we can call the Reagan-Bush lane, the traditional Republican lane, small but effective government, strong national security, international when it comes to trade. Haley's none of those three. I mean, she's obviously not Donald Trump. She hated Donald Trump. She said how awful a human being he was when he ran in 2016. Then she joins the administration. Then she stays silent when on the January 6th insurrection. Then she says how awful Trump is after the insurrection. Now she likes Trump again. So she's not in that lane, and no one trusts her who's in that, looking for that traditional Reagan-Bush person, because of her flip-flopping on Trump and her dog whistling, which we could talk about if you want, to the white supremacists. So she just has no lane.
That's the absolute great point Steve has made there. He's nailed it as ever. I have been reading about her with a mix of bemusement and fascination, because exactly what you said. She champions the fact that she's a proud daughter of Indian immigrants, but then denies there's racism in the Deep South. She disassociates herself from the Trumpist extremists, but then served him during his administration, then tries to play the women's card to a degree. I'm representing the women's half of the Republicans, but is very supportive of anti-abortion legislation. I came away reading all this stuff, not knowing anything about who she actually is and what she stands for.
And that's why she's not going to win. I mean, if she came out, and there are a lot of people who are in those three lanes but she hasn't chosen a lane. And you have to choose a lane. If you're a Democrat, you choose, are you a progressive? Are you a moderate? You're a Republican? Are you traditional conservative? A Trump Republican who's not Trump or Trump? She's nowhere. And what was really, when talk about dog whistles, so a dog whistle in U.S. politics is when you say something that most people don't hear it, but those who you want to send the message to subtly, who are it's typically used in racism, they pick it up. She had her launch led by Pastor John Hagee, a right-wing televangelist, who said that Hitler was a hunter sent by God to drive the European Jews to Palestine, who claimed Hurricane Katrina was God's punishment for New Orleans because they had a gay pride parade, who referred to the Catholic Church as the Great Whore. John McCain refused his endorsement, wouldn't have anything to do with him, yet Nikki Haley has him lead her nomination event and says, "I want to be you when I grow up." That's
not just a dog whistle. That's like a foghorn.
Where do you find these people? Seriously, where do you find these people?
They're in every country.
And that's so Haley's just grasping, and she's grasping. Look, she might very well be the number two in the Republican nomination.
That's what some people are saying. She's looking for a DeSantis number two, for example, right?
Possibly a Trump number two, because she's refusing to attack him, right? And when she was given the opportunity on Fox News to say, how does she differ from Trump? She says, I don't kick sideways.
Just a quick curveball from Ian Chan. Let's get our readers involved, listeners. Is Nikki Haley trying to do a Rishi Sunak?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to compare the two parties. I mean, again, if Rishi Sunak, you're saying he has a compelling life story, he had a background in government, he was could step in, that he's a new generation of leadership, and then yeah, I mean, she's trying to do that, but it's much different to do that to try and get through a Republican primary than it is to get through the party system. So they're hard to do. I'll say that the one thing Haley has going for her, she is the only presidential candidate right now who is born after the 1940s. So,
yeah, she's 51 years old.
So
that's good. I think the generational shift is going to be important to some voters, and she will connect with certain voters on that. And just one last word from what I've read, that a big challenge for her is going to be raising money because of these other competitors around. So
and that's why she got in early, because you know, there are a lot of people lined up waiting to see what happens and how it plays out. Right. And there's that huge competition for money. I'll say, you know, well, I don't know. As you said, Glenn, she can attract some people. She is called for mandatory mental competency tests for politicians over the age of 75.
Guess who that applies to?
It applies to two people who are the front runners.
I might not disagree with that.